G'day, I'm Michael from Ivanhoe Cycles. I'm going to show you how to build an XDS Boss bicycle from box to riding. Alright, so we've got the bike out of the box. The first thing I usually start with is putting the seat post in. A little bit of grease to the seat post. Now I don't know if you'll have a stand at home, hopefully you do. It makes it a lot easier to hold the bike. There's another thing you got to be aware of. When you unpack the box, there's a smaller box inside. That little box has pedals, front wheel skewer, a couple of important things in there. Okay, so front wheel, the skewer goes through that obviously. The skewer is a little lever device which holds the wheel in. It's got a nut on one end which comes off completely. And it's also got two little springs. These two little springs go either side. The skewer goes through on the disc side. Little nut goes on the outside, on the other end. Again, those springs, they've got a big side and a little side. The little side faces in. You'll see the springs, pretty obvious. So front wheel in between the disc brake. Doing up the little lever to hold the wheel in firmer. Now I'm going to show you how the headset goes together, how the handlebars go into the headset or the faceplate. So the faceplate's got 4 bolts in it. They're put in by an Allen key, a 4mm Allen key. Okay, so when you're doing up the faceplate on the handlebars, there's a pattern you go in. There's diagonally across and diagonally back across. This actually makes sure there's the same sort of tension on all of it. Also making sure the handlebars are central, left and right, and that the faceplate has a similar gap at top and bottom in between the stem and the faceplate itself. I'll just finish locking this up. Okay, so I've already put the front wheel in. The hydraulic hose runs down and goes into this little bracket on the fork here. I'll just show you how that goes on. The front wheel, when we put that in, it should clear the disc. You can hear that's rubbing there. With a 5-valve Allen key, you'd unlock the caliper at the back. I'll show you how to do that back here. So I've loosened the caliper off. That way I can centralize it. So what I'm going to do is hold the brake on, which pulls the caliper into the center, and then I'm going to lock both those nuts up. Now what should occur is when the wheel's spun, it shouldn't touch. If you hear it scraping, have a look down in between the disc and the caliper and you can see which side the gap's on. In this one, the gap's that side, so I want to pull the caliper this way. Okay, so now that's centralized. It doesn't rub at all anymore. There's no sound. That's good. There's 2 sets of gears on this bicycle, the rear derailleur gears and the front derailleur gears. I'm going to set both of these up. What I always start in is the smallest cog in the front, or the inside cog, and the biggest cog at the back, the inside cog. So straight out of the box, the rear gears on this are pretty good. It needs a little bit of adjustment to go back up. So I'm just going to wind, put a little winder on the back, anti-clockwise. Okay, so when you try to go up the gears or down the gears, if it doesn't go either way properly, to go up, you wind the barrel adjuster anti-clockwise. To get it to come down easier, you wind the barrel adjuster clockwise. So now that's adjusted, top and bottom, and it goes through all the gears. There is actually limit screws on this. Generally, they're set from the box, so you don't have to adjust these limit screws at all. So the rear gears have been adjusted. I'm just going to check that the front gears work okay. That shifts smoothly up and down both the gears. I've tested it in the smallest cog. I'm now going to go up to the big cog back for the easiest gear and check again here to see if it clears properly. And in this case it does. The rear brake, similar to the front brake, needs to be adjusted to be centralised. Same operation. I'm just going to unlock both of the bolts that hold it on. Once the bolts are unlocked, the caliper will be free to move. What I'm going to do is hold the brake lever again. By holding the brake lever, it clamps the caliper in and centralises it. I'm then going to lock these nuts up here and here. Okay, good. So that's centralised now. It's not rubbing on either side. One of the other things you can come across with the disc is it may have a buckle in it or a bend in it. It may waver from one side to the other. You could look in between the disc and see which side's touching and bend it back by hand. Make sure your hands haven't got grease on them. You don't want anything on that disc at all. Even a tissue or a piece of cardboard on your hand as you press it would be ideal. We're going to put the pedals on now. That's that box I mentioned earlier, which is always in the bottom of the box when you open it. So there's the pedals there. It's ideal with the pedals to put some grease on the threads. So I'm just going to basically put a little bit of grease on either thread. Simple as that. There's a left and a right hand pedal. The right hand pedal has a smooth surface. The left hand pedal has a little knurled surface. I'll show you that. So that's the left hand and that's the right hand. That one goes in the right side. Yeah, so the one with the smooth section goes in the right side. With both of the pedals, they both wind on forwards, so it's a really easy way to remember it. If a bike's going forwards, it's pedaling that way, yeah? So they both do up in that direction. Going to grab a pedal spanner or a 15mm spanner and wind forward to wind the pedal on. And just gently lock it up. It's the same with the pedal on the other side. It winds on forwards. There's a left and a right hand thread. They're both different threads, but it means they both can go forwards. Alright, we're going to pump the tyres up. On both of the tyres, it's got written on the side of it in very small black writing, the pressure. It's usually something like 35 to 55. So I'll pump that up to 35, which is a good off-road pressure. So that's the bike completely together. The one thing I always double check, and particularly before anyone gets on the bike and rides it, is the handlebars. They need to be done up. So I centralised the handlebar with the front wheel. And there's two pinch bolts, one either side. Just lock both of them up. The other thing you should check is that this little collar through here doesn't move around. If it doesn't move around, there's just enough bearing pressure there. Basically, there's a top cap, which has a 5mm Allen bolt in it, which gives you that bearing pressure or holds the fork down with this head stem. That steers nice and easily. That's already clamped down. That doesn't move. Very good. There's a manual with instructions. It's worth reading that. There is some important information in there. Bell and reflector, obviously. It's one of the things that by law you need on a bike. It's worthwhile. It reflects light of cars coming towards you, and you've got your bell there to warn people that you'd be coming through behind them. So that's the Boss Point 3.0, completely built, ready to ride.